Cajun Classic Cars TV. Welcome to Steve and Rachel with the Cajun Cruisers Car Show coming up very soon. How you guys doing?
Good, good.
We're doing good. We're excited about this weekend.
We are. I think that's going to be our biggest one yet.
Well, I'm actually traveling visiting family in the last frontier of Alaska, so I'm going to miss this weekend's
Oh,
car
wow.
show. But when I first saw it, I was excited to be able to go, and then I realized it didn't work with my schedule. So good luck to you guys. I'm sure it's going to
Yeah.
be great.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
tell me your background and history in cars. I mean, why it's got to be a love of cars to spend the time and effort putting together one of these shows. Tell me a little bit
Yeah,
about your backgrounds.
yeah. So, it's just classic cars. I grew up, riding Harley Davidsons and working on classic cars and working on old motorcycles. So I grew up, doing that kind of stuff. My brother helped open up the first Harley Davidson dealership here in Shreveport, Louisiana. He was one of the lead techs over there. So I was always around the mechanical and working on the cars. And of course, he was a hot rod guy. My dad was a hot rod guy. So kind of just grew up in the lifestyle for sure.
So,
Yeah.
do you guys currently have classic cars yourself right now?
We don't have a classic car at the moment, geez, I mean, we've had everything from Corvettes to lowered trucks to, Jeeps that were highly modified, buggies. We've had everything Harley Davidsons, custom Harleys. Uh, we've had everything under the sun. Imports, my son's real big into the import game, so it's a car show that brings all that together, and that's what I really wanted to do because, when I had my custom truck, I showed up at a car show, but it was a truck show, and I was asking, where's all the other guys at? Where's the hot rod guys at? And where's the Corvette guys at? And they said, oh man, they're not invited. This is just a truck show. And I said, well, okay. And then a couple weeks later, I brought my Corvette to a show that they were having, and there was no one else there but Corvettes. And I said, well, that's crazy. Where's all the truck guys? And they said, oh man, they're not invited. So they were all kind of, keeping separate ties on all the different little categories of cars and bikes and trucks. And I wanted to have a show, and that was my thing, that everybody was welcome. I don't care if it's old school or new school or hot rod or under construction or rat rod or Harley Davidson, whatever you had, whatever you've been working on. If it's a World of Wheels masterpiece, come out to the show and show it off. So that was my vision for the show.
No, and I think you've hit that with what I've seen so far, and that's been one of the
Yeah,
frustrations. I have a 2002 Harley Sportster with a sidecar,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and I've got a 57 Nash Metropolitan. I've got a 65 Thunderbird, and I've been the
uh,
same thing. I've gone to car shows, and I'm like, okay, this is trucks, or like you said,
yeah,
this is new school stuff. And I
yeah,
love, there's nothing like a good open car show, not only because of the camaraderie, Steve, but
yeah.
also because just the fun that you learn about all these
It
shows.
is. It is. Yeah, and that's another thing. When I first had the first show, a lot of the different guys wanted to part together, and I told the Corvette guys and the Mustang guys and the Chevelle guys or Camaro guys, if y'all want to part together, get here together. If you don't, we're just going to have to pull you in as you come, because there was limited parking, So, but it really worked out because a couple of the buddies that met over on the corner or up the street at the donut shop would caravan over, and they would get to park together with their club. But it really brought everybody together because the Harley guys were parked next to the Corvette guys, which were parked to the lowriders, So it really brought the community and everybody together to kind of see what everybody else was doing. They weren't stuck in their little world, So it
Right.
really opened up to a very broad show, in that aspect.
So, Rachel, how about you? How'd you get into the car world? Just married into it or what?
Following him. I married it. I married it to it.
Yeah,
That my wife would say the same thing. And sometimes we'll be at a car
It's
show.
falling around. I love it though. I love the border. Yeah, we put on shows at a lot of different venues, and to me, for me, it's my favorite. It's
yeah,
beautiful. It's a great place to take pictures with all the cars there, and the scenery is gorgeous. This weekend's gonna be gorgeous. The weather looks like it's gonna be absolutely perfect.
yeah,
And at night, when the sun goes down and the lights come on the boardwalk, and you have all those cars out there, it's just beautiful. It's just that, I mean, from an aesthetic point. I love the boardwalk. It's beautiful. And plus, the shopping.
So for folks that aren't too familiar with the area, tell them exactly where the car show is, a little bit, and you describe the aesthetics and
Yeah,
all that stuff. But
yeah,
tell them what they're going to be seeing, where do they need to go, and that sort of thing.
It's on the boardwalk, the Louisiana boardwalk, and it's like an outdoor mall. And there's a strip that goes down through the middle of the shops, and that's where all the cars park, is like right through the middle of the
right there on the Red River.
right there on the river. And it's beautiful. There's casinos a block away. There are restaurants everywhere. And you just go in, there's a Shuseiko, I think there's a Japanese restaurant, and it's our entrance is right there between the Japanese restaurant and Bass Pro Shop. There's a huge Bass Pro Shop right there. I mean, it's beautiful, and there's like nothing that's not there. There's tons of stuff to do there. And plus, when you're walking down shopping and all of these cars, I mean, it's just, to me, it's a beautiful thing to see all these classic cars, these new cars, and everybody's out there. They're happy. People are shopping. People have never seen these cars. They get to see. To me, you hit like a whole different demographic when you have a car show like this, because you have all the people who are there shopping or eating, or there's a movie theater right there.
Yeah.
Go into the movie theater and they see all the cars, so they come over, and they maybe never been to a car show, and it's
Well,
really cool.
that's actually one of the things I was going to say is sometimes we kind of get in our own little world in the car world, and we don't
Mhm.
realize that there's a whole lot of people out there that don't have a car, maybe no interest in having one or taking care of one,
Yeah,
but they can
yeah,
come enjoy that. It's great, especially
yeah,
because we are preserving history, and to be able to bring little kids in to enjoy that, I think
yeah,
is something that kind of
yeah.
gets lost on us sometimes.
It is, and that's the thing. The boardwalk is such an excellent venue because it has something for everybody. When I first started doing car show years ago, everybody said, to keep the car guys there, you got to find something for the wife, the girlfriend, or the kids to do to keep them busy. Because when mom gets ready to leave, they're out of there. So you got to find something for everybody. And the boardwalk is just that. Like I said, there's a movie theater there, and there's kids shop where actually the children can go in and shop around. There's everything from
Tons of restaurants,
jewelry shops to restaurants,
candy stores.
candy stores. There's something for everybody down at the boardwalk. So there's no excuse for anybody to try to get at it. We get away from coming.
And we have a lot of people that come and they're like, "Is there a car show going on here?" Like, yeah, I'm like, cool. And they go and they take, I tell people that bring your teenagers. That's a great place for Instagram, Snapchat
Yep.
pictures. Let them come take pictures next to all these cars, and they love it. That's how we have teenagers. And that's how we
Right.
get them out there. Come out and take some pictures, even if you're not interested in the cars.
Yeah.
It's perfect pictures. The river's in the background, the cars are there. You really can't find a better scenery for making TikToks.
So tell us, one of the things Stephen, we talked about an open show is you guys have a lot of awards, and I love that because you've thought about the different vehicles, like we said, because sometimes when you go to a car show, it'll be 5 or 6 awards, and it'll be, it'll be best of this, best of, and yet you don't realize that you can have 3 or 4 different cars that may fit pre-1970 or something, but they're all unique. There's old school
Yeah.
stuff. There's rat rods, and you guys
Yeah.
have a ton of awards that I
We
saw
do.
on your Facebook page.
Yeah, I think it's 24, 25 different awards, and I remember, I'll tell you how that started was, of course, we've all been to a lot of cars and truck shows, but there's only 2 that really stick out in my mind. And that's those 2. I can tell you the date, I can tell you the time, I can tell you who hosted them, I can tell you who put them on. And the only reason I know all that stuff is because I won an award at the show.
Right.
My truck won something, and then at the next show, my Harley Davidson won something. So, I was like, what, we've got to come up with some categories to kind of include everybody. Best under construction, best paint, best interior, best Mustang, best Corvette, best rat rod. I mean, we've got best import, so I was really wanting to, try to come up with a group and a category that fit a little bit of everybody. It just wasn't the old school or pre-70s.
It's
or
fun because like every show, there's that one kid that I like he's just entering shows for fun. I've never won anything.
Yeah.
Like we have kids like that, like every show. It'll be some young guy, in his 20s is enter all these shows. I never win anything. I just go and sit and they'll win something at our show, and it just
and then
it makes their day. And then
the next show?
you're right. Then it gets them excited, it pumps them up about doing car shows, and it builds excitement in them, a passion that may not have been there.
Yeah.
And so
Exactly.
that's always a lot of fun.
You know, it's funny. Years ago, us, what I guess we call old timers now, you didn't like it when somebody would come up with one of the newer cars,
Yeah,
and then now you realize, you know, this is their immersion into it and continuing the tradition. And I've seen a lot of guys come up with a Toyota or Nissan, ultimately because they were led into a car show, are now into '57 Chevys, are now
yeah,
into '60s cars, and that's
yeah,
because somebody let them in and showed them. They handed them a wrench and said, "Here's what you do." You know.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We've got a family that comes, every show, I think, and
Yeah.
it's the father, the son, the daughter, and the mother, and I think
They all have a different car that
they
they're
all have a
showing.
different car, but the mother's driving a new school Mustang with paper plates on it, and then the father's got an old classic,
A Thunderbird
an
or
old
something.
Thunderbird he drives, and the son's got an older Mustang he's fixed up, and the daughter's got a little import,
car, yeah.
little new car import, and they're all just having a great time at the show together.
Yeah.
So it does.
So
The
tell
daughter had won one of the categories last time, and she was like, "I never win anything." She was so surprised, but I know that boosted something in her that wasn't before, and
I think it's best daily driver.
yeah, something
oh,
like that.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
So tell us real quick, Steve. You mentioned you had several kind of cars. The car that got away, the one that you wish I wouldn't have sold that or whatever. What is that?
He'll be here all day long. He's got 10 of those.
I know,
Pick
there's so
one.
many, there's so many. I don't know. I had a cool truck that I really loved. And it doesn't sound like nothing special until you see it, because it went through several people's hands. It started life as like a 98 Chevy uh, work truck. It was literally I think it was a state work truck, just a white work truck. And they took it, and the guy that started the build um, wanted to keep all the stock suspension, but he moved everything up. So he lowered it, and that thing was sitting on the ground, and it had, 26-inch wheels on it, that actually came off an 18-wheeler. They were custom Alcoa wheels that came off an 18-wheeler. He had trimmed the beads and everything to make them fit, but it was all stock suspension up underneath. It was just all moved up, so that was cool. Then it had a 12-valve Cummins motor in it. But it was just very unique truck, and there was a bunch of different, it had a custom, like a 19, I don't even know, 90s flame job on it, that was very detailed when they were doing all the intricate airbrushing and stuff. So it was just a cool truck, and I had to get it, and it kind of got away. I keep talking about that truck. So, I mean, and then the Corvette, and then there's been several different cars. So
So
I
I know
guess
you guys are busy because you've got businesses to run. Real quick, tell everybody that's listening and viewing, the times. Of course, we mentioned the location, but mention that again, and registration fee, all the things that we need to know about this weekend's car show.
It's going to be from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Louisiana Boardwalk. It's on Boardwalk Avenue in Bossier City. Registration is at the event. There is no pre-registration. All of the registration is going to happen at the event. It's $25 to enter. It's free for spectators. And we have, like we said, we have 24 categories, 24 winners, and we have the coolest trophies you will ever get ever at a car show. We have people asking if they can buy our trophies because Steve actually makes the trophies, and he makes everything. So he builds the trophies from old parts and things like that. And so all the trophies are very unique and sought after. People always wanting the trophies. So that's a lot of fun. But yeah, 4 to 9 p.m. Saturday, November 16th at the Louisiana Boardwalk. It's Boardwalk Avenue in Bossier City.
Yeah,
Easy to find.
Sounds great. So real quick, give a plug for your business or businesses real quick for folks watching.
Sew Works. We have a little sewing shop in Blanchard, Louisiana called Sew Works, and so that backs our passion for cars, or his passion for cars.
It was crazy because I'll tell you really how I got started is from the sewing business. Really, I always had a love for cars, and I was real good friends that had the franchise to World of Wheels. I'm talking 10 years ago, and he kept saying, "Steve, you've got to put a sewing booth in the World of Wheels car show," and I kept saying, "It's not my demographic, man. It's not going to work." And he came over 2 or 3 times in the sewing shop because he had a leather machine and he was repairing boots. So that's how I knew him. But he also had the franchise to the World of Wheels. And the week before the World of Wheels, 10 years ago, he came over and he's like, "You got to put a booth in there and sell some toy machines." And I said, he said, "Well, I'm going to send my wife over here and she's going to convince you." And I said, "Okay, send her over here, you know." So 10 minutes later, here comes his wife. And I said, "You know, David was here earlier and it's just not my demographic." And she said, "You're looking at it all wrong." She said, "All those car guys are bringing their wives and their girlfriends and they have nothing to look at besides hot rods, you know." And I said, "I'll be there, you know." So I put a sewing shop booth in the World of Wheels car show, and we sold sewing machines to the women because their husbands were bragging they spent, you know, $12,000 on paint. You know, the women were like, "Well, I'll spend some money on a new embroidery machine." You know, so we sold a lot of machines and got really busy because we sell a bunch of different machines here at Stowworks, you know, upholstery machines, embroidery machines. You know, we have a lot of guys bringing in upholstery and we do custom headrests. We can put, you know, any personal 55 Chevy or your name or whatever on the headrest, and then the upholstery guys take it back and put it together in the car. So a lot of the cars that come to the car show, you know, have interiors that I've sold machines to, or that we've done embroidery for, or we've sold machines that they've done embroidery for. So it's kind of, you know, comes all back, you know, full circle, really. It's kind of, you know, when we think of sewing shop or, you know, would have anything to do with the car show, but it's very intertwined, you know, if you will.
Well, you mentioned World of Wheels. That could be a whole nother episode going back to my childhood. Um,
Yeah.
it's a whole, but listen, guys, I know you got to get back to work. Thank you so much. I wish I'm going to be jealous because I'm going to be on an airplane. But maybe next time. And listen, good luck on the car show and Godspeed. And thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me to tell everybody about this weekend show.
Yeah.
Thank you. We
Thanks for
appreciate it.
having us. Have a blessed day.
Okay, you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.